Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the MilsimUnits.com podcast. I'm your host, C. Brock, and today we have a very special interview. I have a group of gentlemen here that is going to offer you a inside peek into the gaming industry and take a look at the future of Milsim and beyond. So, with no further ado, everyone in the audience out here we go. So to start tonight, we have LT Neo, aka Anderson. He's a soldier in the Third Infantry Division Unit and a really big, massive streamer in a number of games. And from the industry itself, offering you an inside peek, we have Michael Pitthan. You might better know him as Captain Miller from Arma 3. He also plays Lord Radzig in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, well as a role in Stalker 2. We also have Jim High. He is very well known as James High from the British Armed Forces DLC from Arma 2, as well as playing in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. He is Baron Kuno and Erik. He also plays a role in Stalker. And then wrapping up, at the end of our panel today, we have LaFlash himself from MilsimUnits.com. Gentlemen, it's great to have you here.
Absolute pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Well, with no further ado, like I said, let's get right into it. So I'm going to start with you, Neo. I've been watching your streams for quite some time. You know, we have a history back in Third ID. So I'm curious about your time in Milsim. What have you liked the most in your experience?
I would say the camaraderie with within the unit, that is definitely the number one thing. I have a question and one of my leaders is not available. I can ask any other leader, squad leader, sergeant major, whatever. They'll help me out. Like other units where I've been in, it was hierarchy. You follow it, and if there's nobody there, tough luck. This is just like, all right, we'll help you out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can relate to that 100%. Now, I mean, your experience in Third ID, you've made your way up through the ranks, performed a number of infantry roles in your squad. Can you tell me what is it that got you into Armor 3 to begin with?
Well, I'm always been a fan of military and military simulators. Got a couple of my friends who are actually serving right now or have served in the past, and I just wanted to experience what they did in a video game base, basically. So that got me into Arma, and it was after I played Battlefield 2 that got me really into it. I played that on a international platform where we had weekly matches and such. From there, sadly, the unit that I played in dissolved. I looked for something else. Arma came on my path, and I've been playing it ever since.
Gotcha. That's interesting. So you've got a pretty long and varied gaming history. I mean, obviously, your stream shows that. So you bring a lot of experience to the unit. Now, you're also the guy who brought Mike and Jim to our attention here at Milsim Units. Can you tell us how you guys met, how you became friends, and your relationship here in the community?
Yeah, well, I was blessed, so to say, in meeting them last year in June in the city of Ratai, which is one of the cities in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. And we had a community event there, and through the day we got to hang out. And afterwards we stayed in touch, and yeah, we developed a friendship after it. My very last day with them was actually at a gun range in Prague.
Hmm.
No kidding.
Yep,
I was going
I
to say,
took them shooting.
well, I mean, yeah, that's the Milsim community, in a nutshell, right there. I mean, a lot of great guys online, but personally, I've known people. I've experienced this myself in gaming communities, getting together in real life, enjoying a good time, face to face, and just developing that relationship and that friendship. It's something unique. It's not unique only to Milsim, but like I said, you can meet some really good people. So, like I said, you're a streamer. You stream several different games, across various genres. What is your favorite go-to game?
I got a couple, to be honest. I have a love hate relationship with War Thunder. Yes, I'm a masochist. Everybody knows it. And then, of course, Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 was my actual go-to until number 2 came out. So that one is really going there right now. And also Warhammer 40k Space Marines 2. It's such a good game, and I'm enjoying it with my friends and with my community as well.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I've seen a lot of guys, both on Steam and of course on Discord, playing both those titles. So good stuff. And I enjoy watching your stream. Sometimes I'll catch you on a Sunday, for instance. If I got some time to kill, and it's always a good show because you know how to get right into the thick of it.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. It's great to have you with us, Neo. It's really your first time on this podcast. Again, knowing you in real life, I know what you're up to, and I'm looking forward to talking to you more into the future. All right, next up, we're going to talk with Mike Pitthan. As I mentioned, he has a very varied, resume in the movie industry, TV, and in gaming, of course. So. Let me ask you, Mike. You were born in Germany, you raised in the UK, and now you're based in Prague. So, with that international influence, how has your experience influenced your acting career?
I think maybe I have a sort of European perspective on things. Um, I used to say confused mongrel for a long time. Um, uh, I think it offers me opportunities because obviously I can work in a few different languages. And being in Prague, we do get productions not only from the US and the UK, but also from Germany quite regularly.
Yeah, that's interesting, and definitely, I'm real big into international media, international movies, and definitely, Czechia or the Czech Republic, whatever you want to call it, it definitely has grown a lot in its presence over the past couple of decades in media, and that goes for gaming, as we all know and love in Arma 3 and the other Arma titles. So, in your work, you've played a mixture of different military and historical figures. What would you say has been your favorite role so far, and why?
Without a shadow of a doubt, actually, I mean, I love Radzig. He's a favorite of mine, but I did get the opportunity to play Sir Arthur Conan Doyle for a German TV program, which was challenging in a few different ways because I had to speak German with a British accent, whereas having been, raised in the UK, I've always tried hard to speak German with a German accent. So that was quite interesting. Um, and also, incidentally, he's one of the first people to be recorded with sound on film. So there's actually a clip of him about 20 minutes long. So it's quite interesting getting into his voice um, and learning about his history because he was such an interesting guy. I mean, we know about Sherlock Holmes, but he did so many other awesome things. Actually, he was a trained medical doctor. He spent, I think, a year and a half or so on a whaling ship um, before he set up his own practice. I mean, he was a very interesting guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's too much of a coincidence because I was just reading about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and the Sherlock Holmes franchise, if you will, last night, just out of, I guess, reminiscences from my childhood. So that's too cool. Really, again, I mean, that's the thing. You've had such a variety of roles. Really, it's got to be pretty exciting to be able to do so much, in one career span. But we're all, of course, wondering about Arma 3, your experience playing Captain Scott Miller. He was a key character in the game's campaign. I mean, to me, you're part of the lore. You're a legend, in the gaming community. What was it like voicing such a central figure?
Well, first of all, nobody told me for years. I didn't know because a little bit like, well, I'm not much of a gamer, and I realize I'm kind of missing a trick there. I must admit, so don't hate me, guys. Um, and then someone told me, oh yeah, you know that actually it was Jay Crow, and he was like, you know that Captain Miller's got like this following, and I'm like, what are you talking about? So I checked it out and found lots of interesting videos that people have made and so on. Um, and it's amazing to realize actually what kind of an impact and how much enjoyment people get out of that work because obviously, you go into a studio, um, half a day, couple of hours, over a period of time, and you repeat that, but then it's the work's done, and then you kind of cast it off into the ether, so to speak, and and then it's somebody else's to play with, which is great, incredible. And also, he's a bit of a badass. I think
Oh, yeah,
Jim
he
would
is.
agree that I'm a bit of a I wouldn't say a soppy, but I'm quite a gentle chap at heart. So getting to play someone like Captain Miller was quite fun. And also that was when motion capture for games I think was still relatively new, so that was quite interesting. That was quite a complicated part of the process actually.
So I have a question about your time as Captain Miller and the time in the recording studio. How many hours do you think you took to record all those lines throughout the entire campaign? Because I found a video on YouTube from a YouTuber that's pretty well known called Viper10, Air Force vet, currently in, and he went through and recorded and put a montage of all Captain Miller lines.
Oh, it's so long ago. I honestly don't remember. I know. I think I came in for 2 motion capture sessions. They weren't full days. And then I think maybe I came in for 4 or 5 sessions doing other voice work. Some of that would have been Captain Miller, and then some of it would have been shout out box for other parts of the game. So honestly, I don't know, but like as a total, probably I'm guessing maybe somewhere around 4 or 5 days work potentially.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's something, Brock, that you don't think about on the backside about all that extra recording, all the extra stuff that the studio has to go through on the backside to produce a product just for a campaign or the single player version of the game.
All that work for a couple of bits and sound bites here and there. But yeah, I mean, it definitely adds to the experience playing the game. It is legendary. Arma is within the Milsim community pretty much the standard as far as open world sandbox games. So obviously, it's approach to realism is what attracts a lot of dedicated Milsim players, including probably most of the people in our audience who play Arma 3 or another part of the franchise. So, Mike, how did you approach making Miller's dialogue authentic? I mean, how did you capture that badass attitude, as you were recording all of your lines?
Well, we've all seen war movies and so on. I think we're kind of it's part of our culture, isn't it? In our law, so to speak, about Second World War and so on, um, and more recent military stuff, of course. So I think there's material to draw on, and in terms of voice work itself, I mean Dan Brown, who is also one of the actors and very much part of the acting community in Prague, and has cast a lot of voice work through the years. Uh, is a great director, and obviously Jay Crow was quite hands-on at that point, and so they nudge you around. I mean, that's the role of the actor, is to be flexible until the director or the writer's vision is fulfilled. Um, I made the voice a little bit estuary, so southeast England, not quite London, which sort of gives it a bit more of bravura, a bit more sort of bit more of an edge, and he's the boss. He's going to make sure his boys are okay. So it's just kind of transmitting that energy, saying, hey, this is the plan. You're with me, so get it done. Get the job done.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Well, I mean, whether it's a good director, a good actor there, a combination of both, man, you really pulled it off. So definitely
And great writing, of course. Great
yep,
writing as
yep. You
well.
can't.
So
You're right. You got to start with the copy. That's where it all starts. But yeah, definitely, you are forever part of the Arma lore. I gotta wonder. You said you're not really a hardcore gamer, at least not Milsim. But in your experience online, have you ever heard any other video game players, or anybody you've chatted with, quoting your lines or referencing your work in Arma?
I have to be honest with you. For an actor who remembers lines, I have actually got an awful memory. for other stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. There's a few potentially, but not for this. I mean, the KCD is a little bit closer. You know,
Sure.
it's Arma 3 now for me is so long ago. My voice has changed so much since then as well.
Yeah, that's fair. It's been over a decade now. It went by in the blink of an eye. But you're right. It's just another assignment in the past. But I have a feeling now with this podcast coming out that people are going to start pinging you a little bit more. Wait a minute, I know that guy. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance, Lord Radzig is obviously one of the most iconic characters in the game. I mean, you're throughout the lore online. So, can you tell us about the process of bringing him to life? How did you pull that one off?
Well, first of all, I actually read for Henry when they were casting in Prague. They're like, "You're not right," and of course, as an actor, you want to be like, "Yeah, I can do any role. Give it to me." But they were right. You know, my voice is um, it sounds different. Um, Tom is amazing. Tom is great, and working with him again, it's the rehearsal process. Often for an actor, I think, is where you try things out, and they gave suggestions. He's intelligent. That there's a little arrogance, but it's not too much. He's someone who looks after his friends, and so then this kind of feeds into um, a style. You know, they said don't. He's not in a hurry. Like this guy's never in a rush, and so then the character starts to emerge from that. Um, and obviously, actually, Tom and I are at quite a similar age. Um, so he's got to pitch younger, and I've got to make Radzig a little older. So then I drop in my register, and that's where the voice emerges. So and it was fun. I mean, just those mocap sessions, because you feel so ridiculous stuck in the spandex suits and with those little baubles on you. But then once you get into the acting itself, it really just flies. It's great.
That is great. And yeah, what can I say? You played the role well. But yeah, it's not just about finding the right role for you. That is, but yeah, you put a lot of thought, a lot of effort, and a lot of deliberation into to making that character come to life. So outstanding. Now with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 here, what can you share about revisiting Radzig's character?
Um, it was nice to come back actually. Um, yeah, he's fun, and I hope there will be a continuation. Um, Definitely, it's interesting because Jim and I have been trying to be more active in the community, so it was fun to get out last year and actually wear some costumes that are reasonably accurate and um, meet players, and
Yeah.
just see again how much of a wonderful influence it has on people's lives and how immersive and also engaging and sometimes in some cases life changing. I mean, it's certainly. Mm, it's amazing to be part of that, knowing that more people are visiting the Czech Republic now because of the game. Especially the second version. And then in terms of just uh, getting back into the characters, like getting back in the saddle, uh, back in the studio with Peter Hosking and Tom and various others, Luke. It was great.
Yeah, it's really great insights there, and again, the community is just you don't really realize how deep, how connected, how vibrant it is until you kind of step outside, get away from your screen, go AFK a little bit and meet some people. It seems like the whole world kind of comes out of the shadows, and you're just surrounded by a bunch of good-natured people with similar interests and similar style of gameplay. So that is truly outstanding. Now, what about
Absolutely, it's such a pleasure to meet people. Um, because I mean theatre, not to digress too much here, but theatre there's an immediacy to it. You get to maybe meet the audience afterwards, or you're in the room with them at least. When you're filming stuff, it's quite detached in a way. You don't quite know how the audience or the people kind of who are part of that process of taking in the material, how they're taking it on. But then the gaming world, it's somewhere in between, because people get to go off and enjoy it on their own for as long as they want, and then we get the opportunity to meet them and talk about what their favorite bits are, and give them insights into how the process works and so on, which is great.
Yeah, you really
And-
nailed it.
Oh yeah, they looking at like the popularity of the game, and if you think about it, like many milsimmers, we always like look on like the Steam database and see how many are online and stuff like that. I mean, and you're thinking like, obviously, Kingdom Come is not a milsim game necessarily, like that what we would have on our platform. But being able to compare it to like, okay, what does Arma 3 or Reforger and like their online stats, when you're just looking at 80,000 plus active users all the time in the game, it has a humongous following. And obviously, Anderson here, and I always see him playing it. So,
Yeah, I love this game.
Yep,
It's
guilty as
the
charged.
best ever historically accurate RPG ever made.
Oh, it's
But-
crazy. Jim and I were streaming a couple of weeks ago, and we ended up in Kuttenberg, and I work there regularly as a tour guide. I have done in the past, and I'm like, I know these streets. The street plan is the same. It's crazy.
oh, wow.
It's really quite amazing how they've the details they've gone into. Yeah, it's astounding.
I even took on during one of my streams, I actually took my chat into the street. I'm like, okay, we're here right now, and this is what Google Maps shows us. And this street is where we're walking in right now, and this is what Google Maps shows us. And it's just one continuous walk that is so accurate to what Google Maps has right now as well. So it takes you into the world, and it just makes you relive it in real life. That's the power of that game, I think.
That is
Well said.
fascinating. Yeah, that's. I'm gonna have to go check it out now, man. I don't have much experience with that franchise, but you got me wondering, because I'm all about accuracy and realism as much as you can get in a digital kind of space. So that is really cool. Now, of course, I wanted to talk about Stalker 2. We got like I said, a whole plethora of different genres here that we're covering. But I know a lot of our guys, both in Third ID and across Milsim Units, are into Stalker 2. I've seen media explode over YouTube and other social media over the past couple of months. So let me ask you, Mike, about your role as Faust. It seems pretty different from your kind of your historical and your military characters that we talked about just a few minutes ago. What kind of mindset did you bring to make that character come to life in Stalker 2?
Yeah, he's a leader as well, I guess. So maybe though that's a similarity, but he's also pretty much absorbed in himself, I think. In contrast to the other two, there's also something mystical about him, or at least he thinks so. And of course, he's dabbling with these forces that are greater than him and trying to kind of exert control also, but support for the people around him. So he thinks what he's doing is right. So there's a sort of an element of cult leader about him, where these people are convinced what they're saying is the only way, is the right way. So it was quite interesting to get into that. And again, I think a director with an overview is vitally important in that sense, because you're coming into a studio and you don't exactly know what the writers want. You don't exactly know what the director of the whole game wants. And so the in-studio directors are sort of integral in making sure that you are bringing the performance they need. And so, and there were times where we did re-records on stuff because it wasn't quite where they needed it to be. They wanted it more intense. So it was quite frustrating at times because I felt that I was giving the performance they wanted, but it wasn't quite dark enough, or it wasn't controlling enough. So it was really kind of playing into my own mind, really trying to get inside my head, because that's what Faust does with other people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you said it dark. I mean, it really is. It's a step in a different kind of direction, a whole different mood, and a whole different outlook. To that character, at least from from the audience perspective. What I've seen. On other players. Streams, etc. So yeah, I mean, Stalker's world is obviously pretty grim, and very atmospheric. You use the term mystical for Faust. Did the that kind of dark atmosphere, did that environment affect your performance in any way?
Yeah, because we were working with cutscenes that were almost finished, so we got to see the scenery, the background, and it wasn't obviously that polished as the process was going on. But there are several lines where he's just getting quite dark it's about death and loss of life. So definitely the environment of the game, but also then imagining circumstances around it, because in some cases they didn't have um, the video finished, for us to work with. So you have to very much get into your own imagination then. And I think we've all lost, right? It's part of living is to love people and lose people, and to find those dark places that we all have, and allow that to come through. But with that character, also with the underlying conviction that he knows how he can save everybody, which is a very interesting. Yeah, he was a chunky, meaty character to play. That one. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty dynamic experience. But yeah, that's the thing. You've taken all of your knowledge, your ability, your experience, and just created these really captivating, one of a kind characters that are we're going to be thinking about these voices, your voice, I should say, thinking about your lines here for many years and probably decades to come. In gaming history, so really been a pleasure to take a deep dive into your experience as a an actor, and again part of the lore in our community.
Thank you so much. I was actually reflecting on that earlier with how, yeah, actually, this is going to be here for a long time for me to look back at, for people to listen to. It's really quite amazing. It's not immediately dawns on one that uh, you can be part of a legacy, because, as I said before, we're in Prague, we're doing our job, and well, you leave the studio and life continues, and you got to pick your kid up from school, or go home, hang the laundry, the same stuff that everybody else does, and then suddenly you're like, wow, no, hang on, this amazing thing happened, and I was part of it. It's absolutely awesome. Actually, it's really humbling and satisfying to be part of that.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I'm looking forward to talking a little bit more here as we get into the podcast because we're just getting started here, but definitely always looking forward to seeing your next work and experiencing it for myself as we just do our work and play our games on the backside. So yeah, outstanding.
Cool, thanks.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gents. Well, next up, we've got Jim High. As I mentioned, he is also experienced in the Arma franchise with the British Armed Forces pack from Arma 2, where he played James High. Obviously, in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, he's played Baron Kuno and Erik, and he has a role in Stalker as well. So, Jim, it's absolute pleasure to have you here, kind of unpacking the lore for us in our audience.
Absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. So, I'm going to start with your background in media, in gaming. Like I said, you voiced all these different ranges of characters across different games. Personally, do you prefer playing a particular type or a particular role? Whether it's a heroic figure, a villain, or something in between.
Yeah, well, it's tricky. I think people underestimate sometimes how difficult it is to play the hero. I don't get to do that very much. So, like Mikey talked just now about Tom playing Henry in Kingdom Come and how well he does that. And it's a very fine line to run. The villains, it's a villain from the point of view of the story. And Erik in Kingdom Come, as people are kind of discovering now, is in a lot of ways a reflection of Henry. There's a bit more to get into. I really enjoy playing Erik. He's just like having someone who's that clearly motivated and that clearly unambiguously following their desires and their motivations is good fun. There's a lot of stuff to get into that. Baron Kuno on the DLC for Kingdom Come Deliverance on the first one. Is a nicely writing is great in Kingdom Come Deliverance, and he's a nicely ambiguous figure because he is somebody who's tried, but has found himself on the wrong side of the law. He's got a great relationship, although you never see the two of them together with Mikey's character with Radzig as two sort of lords who've ended up on different sides of the tracks, so to speak. So I think there's probably more to get into with the villains. But I wouldn't underestimate that there's a sort of it's kind of like being the straight man in a comedy duo playing the hero. It's harder to do than it looks, I think.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I never really thought of it that way, but yeah, I can understand definitely where you're coming from there. Now, what about different accents and dialects? I mean, you've played all these different roles, different guys from different areas of history and geography. How do you prepare for that challenge? How can you play that wide a range?
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. You have to develop that earlier on before it's sort of you bring stuff that you've got. I mean, particularly with Kingdom Come, particularly, but Stalker as well, and Arma as well. You've got a package of characters you've developed that you just sort of bring on offer. And you mostly develop them from theatre for me. It's because that's the time when you get the chance to really work on something and find a character and find a voice and find a movement. A movement might not be necessary if you're not doing the mocap, but it still influences what the character's like. You don't often get a chance to do that in film and TV in the same way. So it's really just about having that bag of characters and things to bring to offer. I like doing accents and stuff. I spend a weird amount of time trying them out and doing them to people who have the misfortune to be stuck with me and seeing if they work. So I like that, and it's also, I mean, the voice is you get into it from different ways, like I say, physically and vocally, as well as just kind of logically, cerebrally, I guess. So, but the voice it often just brings a hell of a lot, and then and you kind of if you can nail the voice, for me, I kind of know who that person is, and then the other stuff comes there. Couldn't necessarily articulate it, but it kind of a lot about them from that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. You're bringing your tools in your toolbox and just doing the best performance that you can muster for the job. So I got to give you respect. As a role player, I'm the amateur here, kind of listening to your experience there. But definitely, it makes a lot of sense, and I can understand how you can bring out all these different characters across its time and media here. So, what about Arma? I cut my teeth in Arma 2. That's where I got started, not only in the franchise, but also in Milsim Gaming. I mean, it goes without saying that you were so central in your involvement in the British Armed Forces DLC. From my perspective, from the community's perspective, you were the primary voice representing British forces in the game. So, how did it feel to be able to take on that role?
There's a funny but there's quite a lot of responsibility with that game in that it's so real. and that's not to say, like, obviously you have naturalistic performances with Stalker and Kingdom Come, but it's so real, and it's so you're doing a lot of stuff that's going to happen during missions and things, and part of the point, right, is that you're being a soldier who's remaining disciplined. So it's a lot about just kind of doing it and not adding too much to it, but having kind of the actually things of the emotions and that stuff going on underneath it. But really, you always want to be like this, but really not pushing that at all. Just to kind of do service to that. So there's quite a lot of responsibility with that game. It's awe-inspiring to me how all-encompassing and realistic that game is. So yeah, it's quite a challenge like that. It's funny recording Arma. I think Mikey touched on this, but like there's a lot of protocol to record. So that takes a long time, and that was I've done a few other games, but that was sort of the first time I'd experienced with that, and that's tricky to remain consistent with, because you're like popping out, so like you're going north by west, you're going through numbers, you're going like you've got to provide the clicks and stuff, and then you're doing it, they repeat it, so you've got different options on it. So that requires quite a lot of discipline, and it's actually the same director on that, same voice director, Dan Brown, as it is on Stalker 2. He's a fantastic director to work with, but it's a lot about you have to keep going back and reforming yourself and checking yourself against stuff you've done earlier, because there's just a hell of a lot of text to it and a hell of a lot of things you have to come back through, just kind of protocols and things like that. But yeah, the challenge for that was keeping it. I guess that's always a thing with acting, but keeping it real and not pushing it too much, and doing the service to it like that, and respecting the reality of that game.
Yeah, legit. I mean, it is intense. I mean, from my experience, from everybody. So I can only imagine. I mean, from your perspective, with the tactical nature of Arma, did voicing it require a different level of intensity from your performance?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, you get into your own little sort of zone in the booth. You don't necessarily have much space to move around in all the time. Bohemia Interactive are pretty good about that. They've got pretty good setup, but yeah, it's you've got to take it real and get yourself into the right space, and not be pushing it. But there's a simplicity in it, in that you are doing the mission. Like, so you've got to have that sort of focused on, but then you've got to be adding into the reality of what's going on around you. So, but Bohemia Interactive as well, they're very good about, there's a lot of stuff to do, but they'll give you time to come back over it and work with it and find it, and yeah, which always takes time. It's always not, it's not necessarily right straight. But yeah, it's an intense game. It's pretty exhausting, those sessions as well. Like, you'll come out pretty knackered from it.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's got to be a lot to take in. Now, what about gaming? I mean, have you ever considered playing a milsim or get into a game like Arma, from a player's perspective and approaching it that way?
I'd love to go. Neo's offered it to me. I'd like to sit down with him and go through it. It's way too. I'm going to lose a lot of your audience now, but it's way too in depth for me. I'm more of a
I'll
point
bring
and
my
click.
PC in June. I'll get you hooked.
I was going to say, it's only 111 keybinds. That's
You don't need a
nothing.
place to enlist.
Right.
I mean, Milsim Units has a plethora of options.
True.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure.
I'll get him to
Plug
run
in.
with one of our missions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to, again, I'm going to lose your audience, but I'm Far Cry is kind of my go-to at the moment. I'm going to lose
That's a good
everything now,
series.
but I'm playing Need for Speed 3 at the moment, so that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm like,
Now, I think
my
as a
go-to is
Milsim gamers or anything like that, the real question is, all right, are you a console or are you a PC? I mean,
I know,
that's
and
where you're going to lose half the
your.
audience.
Or a
I'm a
Mac.
console guy, I'm afraid. Yeah, I know. I'm on Mac at the moment, on a console, so I'm anathema to all of you. But and I understand that, and I appreciate. Whilst I don't like the pushback, I respect it. So Yeah, so I'm not much of an in-depth gamer. Like, yeah, KCD, we'll talk about that. But like, bloody hell, that's real. I mean, and I spend most of my time kicking around in the mud looking for keys and stuff, and it's difficult for me to get into. It's been a pleasure meeting players who are into that, and meeting people who are into Arma and Stalker as well. Stalker's a bit more my style, but uh, yeah, it's tough for me. It's a lot of time spent on YouTube looking at walkthroughs and things like that.
Again, respect. You're just keeping it real, so I could definitely appreciate that. But yeah, to each his own. But I mean, going back to your experience in gaming, particularly with Kingdom Come Deliverance. I mean, you played a couple of roles, like I mentioned, Baron Kuno and Erik. How did you differentiate those two different performances within the same title? I really am curious about that one.
Yeah, well, Baron Kuno's in the first one. Erik is in the first one as well, actually, but he's not such a huge character in the first one. He really comes into his own in the second one. I've got a few other characters in both those games as well. I play, for anybody who knows the game, I play Marius, who's like the designer of Shibislav. Shibislav is the town that's being built, and I'm an innkeeper, and there's a few other people I can't remember now. Did a lot of NPCs and sort of random peasants. If you're ever getting attacked by bandits, you can pretty much guarantee that I'm shouting at you, swearing and demanding to get your blood. But Kuno Kuno's based on a couple of characters I did. Again, I was saying in plays and stuff that I had kind of there. Kuno's not a million miles from myself as well. They never are. It's kind of a bit about sort of shaving off parts of yourself to kind of get down to a certain core of somebody and then seeing where that takes you. And Kuno's just fun to play. That whole thing was with the band of bastards. It was a great cast around me. It was just fun from the start. So, which is important, I think, in getting the character in there. Erik has a voice that I'd wanted to try for a while. He's kind of down here. He has this kind of thing, which is kind of being prevalent amongst a lot of podcasters and things like that at the moment. I think it's something to do with the way speakers work now and bandwidth works now. So different voices coming popular. So I kind of wanted to do that, and he's based on a couple of other characters I've done before as well, or worked on. So yeah, they kind of sat quite easily separate apart from each other. I mean, thank God they never met each other. I don't know how that would work. I'm always in awe of, like, he doesn't work on it now, but people like Justin Roiland and the Family Guy who do like voices back and forth to each other. But I mean, that's a different thing. It's a cartoon thing, I'd love to be doing Rick and Morty talking together, but that's a way off, I think.
That's too funny. Now, I mean, are there any particular scenes or moments in Kingdom Come that really stand out in your mind?
I mean, with the first one, I can't remember what it's called, but like there's a battle by the river that was just a blast. Film, and I've got a lot of good memories of Band of Bastards and stuff. It was just kind of like it was a collective of us going around, and that was great fun. With Erik, the standoff against Henry was terrific fun. I work with Tom a lot. I don't get much chance to do stuff straight opposite him, and certainly something as confrontational as that. And then I had some great scenes with Logan Hillier, who plays Istvan Toth. They were quite moving in their own way, and like on a personal level. And then there's a scene going around. I keep saying I haven't seen all the cutscenes yet, actually, but of when Erik finds out about Istvan's death, and dog gets taken out in his grief, I guess, and that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun to shoot, to record. Yeah,
that sounds like it. Now, you're also in Stalker 2. Without giving too much away on that title, what can we expect from your characters?
Don't trust them.
Don't trust them.
Yeah, don't trust them. That's all I say. But I mean, that's pretty much a given rule for Stalker 2. Don't trust anybody or anything you see. Yeah, Roosevelt. He was a lot of fun to play. Got got a couple of others as well, but Roosevelt was the main one. Yeah, he's a sneaky character. But that's an amazing world, that place, and that like I've quite a few out there NPCs in that as well. Grunts, I guess you'd call them. But yeah, don't trust them. Don't trust anybody, or don't trust anything you see.
I mean, to have Roosevelt like that, come on. That's pretty cool. For Roosevelt, horse, MJ,
And horse, yes, exactly. Yes, yeah, that's yeah. They were terrific fun. They were really, really good fun. Like, everybody's kind of got their own thing going on in that picture. That's a kind of that all of the recordings of that. There's sort of actually thing you do sometimes of having a secret. You play the role, but you know you've got something you're not telling the other person, and that was kind of true for all those characters. So yeah, a lot of fun, and what a world as well. What a world for Stalker 2. It's crazy. The zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let me ask. I mean, do you enjoy those darker, more intense settings like Stalker compared to the historical roles and military roles that you've played such a part in?
I'm a big fan of both. So I'm a bit of a history buff, and Kingdom Come has been quite eye-opening like that. I'm also quite I'm like a cosmic horror buff as well, or fan, I guess. So Lovecraft and all that, and obviously I don't quite understand how the IP is free, but the original Stalker film, Tarkovsky. So I like that. I like both those things. But then that often goes. I suppose I'm the history and all the fan. It's KCD is resolutely not fantasy, but that other world and that sort of sci-fi world, I'm very much into both of those. I have to say, Stalker is possibly too dark for me. I do like it dark, but it's a lot. It's a lot. So I get it, but yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, Stalker will get you if you're not ready for it. So yeah, fair warning. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Jim. Again, part of the lore in gaming across media. Always an honor to talk to you and others like you who are really doing the work, the real life work on the back end that makes our experiences what they are online and in the community.
Well, thank you. And I mean, and don't forget, I really appreciate that. And there's just an enormous team behind these games. And you go into it's one of the most, particularly at Warhorse, when you go in and you walk through their motion capture studio, the army of programmers and designers and story writers there is amazing. And they're doing a fantastic job, and it's exciting times for that stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Kudos to all you guys who to make our gaming, our Milsim, our adventure, our historical roles what they are. We appreciate it. Obviously, it's a passion of love for us, and we're so happy to be able to take that deep dive and get right into the personalities behind all the magic in the industry.
Absolute pleasure, man. Absolute pleasure. We love that.
Yeah, well, it's outstanding. So, again, we got a whole panel here. We got Anderson, we've got Michael Pitthan, we've got Jim High here, and we've got LaFlash himself from Milsim Units. So, I've got some questions here for the group. This is open floor, open discussion. You guys can take a crack if you've got some opinions or perspective you want to share here. But I'm curious about getting into more detail in gaming and military simulations or milsims in particular. So, as we were discussing here, I mentioned at the start and throughout here, the Milsim Units platform really, our community brings together a lot of very realism focused units, players, you name it, all kinds of developers, different studios, etc. So, what do you guys think about the dedication to Milsim? I mean, what is it that kind of sets the Milsim standard in terms of how far people are willing to go into this genre?
Well, from a personal perspective, I think it's amazing, especially if you have people that like to serve their country or just serve any nation in general, but can't due to either disabilities or anything like that. Milsim Units actually as a platform brings it closer to people that can still fulfill that wish to still be in a unit where they are serving some goal and have that camaraderie that is within the military, no matter which branch, if it's Navy, Air Force, Marines, Army, even Space Force. There is a place for you within the Milsim units, and so yeah. Personally, I think that's an amazing dedication that people like you, Brock, and like Major LaFlash offer us the abilities to do that. I think that's amazing. So props for you guys.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I can respect that. Well, let's take a look from the perspective of somebody getting into Milsim. Like if you had to join a Milsim unit from scratch, I mean, we've got some guys here who have never been in. We've got some guys here who've been in for years. I'm curious on your perspectives. Like, what role would you want to take on? Would it be commander, or like a marksman or a sniper, a radio op? I mean, what floats your fancy if you had to jump right in today and get involved, like starting from scratch?
Let's start with Michael. I'm confused. I'm curious to what Michael would do.
Which role?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something about the question before, actually, which I think it's just I think it's incredible how much dedication and time people give to these projects. Like Neo said, it's there's so many things that people can get out of it, and I hadn't even considered in the way that you put it. So that's really kind of interesting perspective for me. So to hear that's quite nice. Which role? I don't know. Some of those roles I played are commanders, aren't they? I like the idea of a marksman, but probably radio operator because it's a bit more chill.
A bit more chill.
Yeah,
Fair.
you would think,
I mean,
but
you have a radio voice for it, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Copy that one too. We're gonna go with Charlie Bravo.
What about you, Jim?
That was probably complete nonsense.
No, that was very nice, Michael. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. You can't be an engineer, can you? You can't do that. No.
You can.
sure.
Can you? So engineer. Yeah, I'm fascinated by what those guys do. Like that kind of logistical support and the way how that works is very interesting to me. The other stuff's incredible too, but yeah, that kind of that oversight, keeping the machine rolling. That's very interesting to me.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. You don't hear that a lot, so that's a cool answer. I
No,
appreciate
you're right. I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to do what Jim's doing. I'll be an engineer.
Let's do
Oh
that.
shit! There goes our comms.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
that'll-
comms.
No comms, it's no more.
I was gonna say we need that radio mass, but we need the bunkers too. So I thought we had it made, but we're gonna start all over now. So next unit.
And then here I am as an auto rifleman, just
I was gonna
pouring
say
down the
That's where it's at.
Anderson has probably the more fun role. I prefer personal bullet shield. I'm really good at that, or mine
Oh, me
detector.
too.
I'm really good at mine detecting with my legs. So
Yeah, no, I'm the DACA man, but they also give me a boomstick.
Hey, best of both worlds. You got double-digit
Yeah.
kills with that rig. Seriously.
I did.
Yeah, back in the day when I first started out in Third ID, I was my my team's AR, and I loved it. Again, double-digit kills. You set up a nest, and you're running and gunning and mowing them down. But yeah, there's a lot of different stuff to do either way. As much as I like machine guns, I like comms too. Putting a good plan together definitely takes a lot of not only dedication but coordination between the different elements. So, and that's one of the things about Milsim, that you can try different things. If you're good at something, you like something, you can tend towards that. If not, you got options, because there's always something to do on the battle field, in the battle space, if you're Air Force or whatever the case may be. So definitely interesting perspectives either way. Don't never underestimate the engineers, man. They will save your ass when you need it most.
Right.
So, I mean, again, this is open discussion here. We talked about, kind of your interaction with the fans, with the Milsim community, how you meet people, at events, and kind of realize how deep a role you play. I've said it here myself, how important you are to the experience. So, what do you guys think about the Milsim community. What's your opinion on using our resources here, this platform, not only to get people pointed to different games, but pointed to other units? I mean, what's your perspective as somebody looking from maybe a little bit of the outside here, at least in our kind of our universe?
I think it's cool. I think it's very interesting how we can use the internet for communication, and people from vast distances can actually form friendships and relationships, because as you mentioned before, there's a common cause, there's a common goal. Also, sometimes it's difficult to find the next thing that you might be interested in, so that if people can share around, then it's a really cool um, fact thing that there is a community to support that. That's I like it. I like the idea very much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's fantastic. Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't. Leo's really the first person I've met who's been major into Arma, or when the topics come up and it's become apparent I'm in it. Mikey and I both had a fantastic time because we're in Czech Republic, meeting people. Sorry to keep going back to KCD, but meeting people in KCD, and that community is just awesome, and it's very different experience. Talking from about meeting, but it's just very different kind of experience meeting people who've seen TV and film and theatre and stuff. It's awesome. It's just a great community, and it's very cool. And the way people come together on that, it's very very exciting. Kind of like it's a different. To sound a bit as if the bit. It's a bit different meeting them. It's a bit different meeting, and I mean, from what Neo's talked about, with what the level to which people go in the sort of seriousness they take Arma 2 is amazing and quite inspiring.
Yeah, the modding community in Arma is as well. It's just mind blowing how far people go into it. Sometimes I'm just wondering, like War Thunder, for example, has its leaked documents where people go, "Oh wait, this tank doesn't drive fast enough," or there's 0.6 millimeters of armor that's not in there, so we need to leak declassified documents on vehicles and that kind of stuff. But I sometimes wonder if people who make the mods for Arma actually use the documents, because that's how deep this goes. People make it so good and so realistic in a video game, where like it's not just a skin that goes over a vehicle, it's completely new vehicles up to par for what we do it and what we use them for, and the diversity of vehicles that we have thanks to the modders. And just, it's amazing. Genuinely, I think it's amazing what we do.
Yeah, some great insights there, and again, that kind of points back to what we were just talking about a moment ago. There's no one role or one person who makes this what it is. So there is a place for everybody, and definitely, being with the platform, I mean, it's what I'm all about. This is, a labor of love for me. But if you're thinking about it, if you're into Kingdom Come, if you're into Stalker, if you've never thought about crossing over to Milsim, take a look, man. We've got some really good games, good experience, and again, really great people here in the community for you to check out. So definitely, we'd be happy to help you, find a good spot for what you're looking for online and off for that matter. Now, I do want to talk about the voice acting industry per se. I mean, video games, film, and TV. We focused a lot here on military games or historical games. Um, you know, Again, opening the floor. What do you guys think is probably the most challenging part of doing voice work for one genre over the other?
I don't know if Jim would agree, but for what I found difficult for Arma 3, at least, with the barks, the shout outs,
Yeah,
because actually the quiet ones are the worst. They really are hard on your voice. So I remember one day we came in and there was kind of a bit of a competition to see how quickly you could do it. We'd had 4 hours scheduled, and I think most everyone got it. Because we were trying to do it as quickly as possible. I think everyone was around the 3 hour mark. You have hundreds of lines, 100 meters north, tank engage, and then you're doing it in a shouting voice, radio voice, and then the stealth voice, and you leave that to last because it really does kill the voice.
Man, 200 meters front.
That's insane. Yeah, no,
Yeah, exactly.
The classic.
What about you, Jim?
Yeah, no, I agree with Mikey. That is tricky. It's that's tricky. Like I talked a little bit before about Arma, like keeping the reality of it, and there's a kind of, you know, you want to play it. It's played pretty straight. So sort of bringing the atmosphere whilst doing that is probably the challenge with it. But yeah, those clicks are bastard.
Yeah, I never thought of it. You know, I never, contemplated how many times you'd have to say the same phrase over and over again at all those different levels and for different effects. So that's pretty intense.
Yeah, or ways of dying or getting punched in Stalker.
Yeah,
Stalker and KCD.
Yeah, KCD's got a lot of time in the booth just getting hit and going over and over that, and that's pretty exhausting, doing sword fights and things like that. I mean,
all right, Jim. So you're going to get stabbed with a knife this time, and we want you to do it in 5 different ways.
Yeah.
Go.
It's an interesting imaginative exercise, but it's exhausting because you can't help but do it without, like, you have. I mean, to make it right, you have to tense up and something. You don't literally get.
Yeah, you have to. You come out with your cortisol raised, right?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I hate to laugh at your expense, but it's just a game, so. But
it's fun. It's fun.
It sounds like it. No, I'd probably enjoy. I definitely enjoy the stabs. I don't know about getting hit so much, but yeah. Have either of you?
Can I add to that though?
Yeah, go ahead.
For people who want to experience that without being actually hurt, the gaming industry is so crazy that they actually have vests that recreate you getting hit in Arma, for example. So you just walk around, you got your vest on, either you sit on your desk or you have the omnidirectional pads or whatever you want to use.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Depending how fancy you are. But you just walk, for example, you sit in your chair, walk around in Arma, have your vest on, and then suddenly you get shot and you get actually a pain jolt into your side because the vest that you have recreates the shot that you get in Arma.
Now that's realism. I mean, if anybody
That's how
wants to do
good
that,
this industry is. So yeah, if you guys want to recreate it, go ahead. What these guys do on a daily basis for voice acting, just try it for 5 minutes in Arma, and you'll see how hard their job is. It's not just simple. Oh, let's stand in the booth and go, haha, I have to say some lines. Proper work.
Well, I have to say that's pretty wild. I didn't know that. I was actually with someone yesterday. He'd come to Prague to visit.
That was it.
Because he's a fan of KCD, and he was a soldier in the British infantry. And I'm just thinking, on a slightly humorous level, Neo, probably they need to do some like smell packs as well, because he said most of the time when you've got 2 weeks in the field, the squad starts to smell a little bit. So
I can confirm that.
Yeah, that's real. That's real right there.
36 hours.
That's enough.
Yeah. Well, Neo, you're going to be up, so you're going to be the first one to get this vest. You got to stream you getting shot in Arma 3 and let us.
A similar vest that runs with Crisis 2, I think.
You're the expert.
And so I need to get a new one.
Yep, absolutely.
We got
to get you on the stream. So yeah, well, let's talk about that.
I need funding for that.
In all seriousness, I gotta wonder though, how many times have you guys had to re-record a line? If you're doing like 5 different pitches, for this one line, I mean, how many retakes have you had to do for one reason or another?
Oh, a lot. I mean, it depends. I mean, sometimes you come back in and they've changed something, or like they changed the feel of something, and you need to do it for that reason. But yeah, a lot of times. I mean, it takes a while sometimes to get to the right feel of it, and then also, I mean, there's more time now. I've noticed, and I think this is increasing, but they'll give you more time to do more options, so you're not hearing the same delivery every time you hear that line. So you want to give those options to it. So I mean, it could be I don't know. Like you can, some lines you'll be doing 20 times, maybe 30 times, but it depends on what it is. Something they're straight away. They're simple, but yeah, it can be a lot. But I like getting to that kind of that point because you kind of get to sort of freshness once you push through that. Sorry, Mikey.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm just thinking about my last recording for Stalker, and it got very frustrating because it was a re-record, and I'm like, I've already done this. I'm pretty sure. And they go, yeah, but we want it different, and this is how we want it different. I'm like, that sounds exactly like how I did it last time, but okay, let's try and make it different. Because sometimes it's not easy to communicate, and the director, she was doing her best, and I kept asking for feedback. And in the end, I had to say, I honestly don't understand. Can you get some clarification? Can you just ask? Can we record something else for now? Because I think by that point, just on one line, we'd spent 20, 30 minutes and weren't getting it. And so that happens because sometimes it's not quite what they want to hear or imagine. So you have to keep working. But it got very frustrating because when you're getting when sometimes you get conflicting direction. It sounds like, oh, we want it intense, but at the same time make it big, and you're like, okay, yeah, no, that's too shouty. Oh my god, what do you want? I'm lost. Please help me.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating. But
It can be, but at the end of the day, you get it done, and it's I mean, we're acting. Yeah, it's an enjoyable process on the whole, but sometimes you get to these little roadblocks. You just have to overcome them somehow. And then when we asked and they came back with feedback, it was like, oh, that's what you want. Okay, fine. And then we had it within 3 lines.
so yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's in some aspects it's like Milsim, or at least the role playing aspect of it. You're not quite sure what somebody expects of you until they give you the command, and then you gotta come up with it. But yeah, that's the thing. You adapt, you improvise, you overcome. That's what professionals do, and that's again that points not only to your dedication, but the greater dedication to everybody who tries to do the best they can in the game, or on the side for that matter. But with that, I mean, went over some of the challenging, I guess, frustrating, points, if you will. Do you have any funny memories, anything unexpected, from the recording booth in any of your titles?
Jim, do you want to go first this time?
No, you go first, Maggie. I'm trying to think.
Well, I mean, most of the time in the booth actually it goes very smoothly, and it's just you and maybe one or two, normally 2 people. I guess sometimes when they've already recorded someone else's lines, and you're like, oh, it's Bob, or it's a friend. You're like, oh, this is cool. So then you're just like, you laugh for a moment because it's someone and it's cool listening to them. I think probably doing the motion capture for Kingdom Come Deliverance, where we're supposed to be sat on horses and we're basically sat on high stools reversed, and it's just the image of 4 or 5 fully grown men in spandex suits that don't really complement their figure very well, sat on bar stools pretending to be riding horses. I think that's the one. That's the one that I take away from Kingdom Come Deliverance, at least.
Just need some coconut
Yeah.
shells with that.
Yes,
basically,
exactly,
yeah, basically.
You do know how many references to Monty Python there are in Kingdom of Deliverance 2. It's so many. It's so good.
Really?
Yeah, like the scene where Hans and Henry first come to Trotsky, that has Monty Python written all over it. And I think there's people actually now working on a video where they just try and decipher Kingdom Come Deliverance lore to Monty Python episodes or references. It's really funny.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Hilarious. I love, what can I say? I love Monty Python. So if it fits, man, wear it. So it is part of the lore, whether you expect it or not.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I actually, I'm going to name drop. I nearly worked with John Cleese on a game called, I'm in another game, and the cut sequences to a game called Raid 2. and John Cleese played British commander in there, but he was down to play Hitler, and I was playing an SS officer with him for the cut sequences. But I met him for that, which was an
No
absolute
kidding.
treat. But I didn't get to work with him. But I am in another game with him.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Imagine that. Hey,
You-
who knows?
you
He's
did work
he's
with
still
Mark
in the
Hamill,
business,
didn't you?
so you never know.
I worked with my Hamill as well. Yeah, I'm gonna just name drop now. Just go clang, 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 clang. That's the
That's
sound
too
of
cool.
names dropping.
You earned it. So we talked a lot about here, gentlemen. This has been a really great discussion, going over a lot of different topics. In Milsim, in the gaming industry, in voice acting and entertainment. Let me hear about your future prospects. What kind of work or roles would you guys like to take on? In the future.
I have talked to the Bohemia Interactive people, I don't know how many times over the years, and they keep saying, "Oh, Captain Miller might come back," and I'm like, "Okay, well, you said that last time. I would love Miller to come back because we don't know what happened to him really, and he's still mysterious. It would be nice to know, or maybe he's just dead. I don't know. I think Jim and I should do a Lord Radzig Baron Kuno shoot off.
Yeah,
I think we should have our own little thing going on. What do you say, Jim?
Yeah, I'm totally down for that. We recorded a bunch of videos that we've kind of we should put out more concretely. But yeah, there's a good dynamic between Kuno and Radzig.
True.
It's good fun characters to play. Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm on quite a medieval tilt at the moment, so I'm a bit more for that, kind of slopping around in the mud and hacking down heretics. But I've got stuff coming out as well. I'm in the show. I'm in Blade Runner 2099 coming out later, I think this year, and then I think Mikey's in this as well. A TV show called Death by Lightning, which is a fantastic living show about the assassination of President James Garfield. So I've got those two things coming out. But yeah, if I could do anything more, I think medieval. But then medieval or sci-fi, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm also in Death by Lightning, and a couple of smaller projects, German Czech things, and just focusing on sort of local theatre stuff at the moment, and also trying to connect with the gaming community more. I think it's I kind of missed a trick. I think like 5-10 years ago, and not being more proactive. It seems I don't know why I just didn't think it was something that I was able to do. Um, I'd love to do more games. I really love voice work as much as I like working in theatre and camera. There's something very fun about being in the voice booth, and there's a kind of freedom to it because you're not being observed in some ways. So more voice work would be great.
Yeah, and it's more. I mean, it just seems to be as far as I think it's the same thing, like, but like we're getting more and more mocap stuff, and the mocap's becoming more and more. It's coming easier and easier to do. I did something for somebody, concept artist who's doing a short 5-minute film, a medieval film again, and it's a beautiful looking thing. He's doing it in Unreal, and the mocap was so. We'll see how it comes out, but like it's getting really simple. It's just a suit now. The cameras are becoming simpler and simpler. So that's interesting, and like having a head start on working on that stuff is interesting because once you've got over the kind of ridiculousness of prancing around in Lycra, it is, as Mikey said, very freeing and a lot of fun.
I think as Jim said, there's a lot of options there, and I love working with Jim. So, and the community in Prague is amazing. We've got some really excellent actors, and it's such a pleasure to be working with them. So it's fun.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, it's keep up the good work, man, because it makes a difference. We've all got our professional lives, obviously, but yeah, at the end of the day, when we want to, kind of unwind, whether we're watching a movie, checking out the newest mini series, we're getting online with our buddies to play some games, man. We appreciate your work and the work of everybody else who to make this what it is. It's something special. I mean, obviously, I believe that working, with the community in this labor of love. But yeah, just keep it going, man, because it's good shit, and we want more of it. And yeah, if we can capture Miller back, man, I'll be the first one to buy that DLC. Trust me.
Oh,
Yeah, and
definitely.
follow us on. We're both on Instagram. I've got the official Lord Radzig, and we're both on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to be getting on Reddit, sort of starting a profile there. And yeah, we're out there. We're doing our best to kind of reach out and get in contact with people. And yeah.
Either way, we'll make sure we get your social media links up on the podcast description here, so people can they can look you up, check out your resume here of all. I mean, because you guys, Arma came out over 10 years. We all know that, but yeah, you guys have done so much work. I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more deeper into your portfolio here. So, yeah, just absolutely great time tonight on the podcast. Michael Pitthan, Jim High, and of course, Lieutenant Neo here, our own Anderson. Really great to talk with you guys again and kind of take a different look into the industry here. And as always, LaFlash, great to have you with us, guys. You guys really bring it open, for the public to see, and it's worth sharing. So. Really been a pleasure tonight.
Yeah, I
Absolute
really
pleasure
enjoyed it
for
as
me
well.
too.
Thank you.
I just wanted to leave this before we end it. I'm currently working on a little side thing where we probably will go to Czechia again this summer. We have 2 Kingdom Come Deliverance related events there, one in Rataj and one in Kuttenberg. So if you want to meet anybody from the game, I think Michael and Jim, you guys will be there at least in Rataj.
Yes.
That's the plan. Yep.
All right,
Yep.
so we'll probably make some videos there again, and I'll be the cameraman.
That's
Just like-
badass.
Just like we did last year.
Actually, on a purely private plug, I'm actually a licensed tour guide in Prague, and I have started to take people to Kutna. So if anybody wants a tour,
Yeah, do it.
either of Prague or Kutna, and maybe we can set up meetings some of the actors. That's kind of my plan. If people want to do that as well, that might be an option too.
That's pretty cool. It's on my bucket list. It has been for many years now. I have to admit, playing in good old Cherno, but good shit, gentlemen. So yeah, we'll definitely get those links up again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this very special opportunity again with these gentlemen. With this inside view into the gaming and Milsim communities. So that's all we've got for our podcast here tonight. But until next time, this is C. Brock signing off.
Hey everybody, before you go, why don't you please stay around? Check out Jim and Mike's reels from their IMBD, and if you haven't already, check them out, follow them. It was great being able to sit down with these two and pick their brain and see the lore that they go through. So without further ado, thanks for watching, and please enjoy.
You're going to prison for life, Stefan. I don't have to tell you anything. See? Unfortunately, when a client rejects a job interview, policy is that we cut off their benefits. But I see that you've extended them for Mr. Phillips. I wonder if you sympathize with his political leaning.
It was a mistake, just a clerical error.
Okay. Great.
Thank you, sir.
This place may not be immediately welcoming to you, boy, but you must be excellent. Always excellent. Do not give anyone any reason to tear you down. Remember, no one may tear down an excellent Frenchman. Surely you know if anyone were to find out.
And how exactly would they find out, Vargas? Are you saying I can no longer rely on your discretion?
I'm only saying this affair is not as well hidden as you imagine. People are already talking.
This man holds up his ancestors to be heroes. They were outlaws and rebels. Enemies to the Republic. You should hang your head in shame.
Is it true we ride alone?
It is.
First they condemn you, then they leave you to retrieve the Grail alone.
It's complicated.
It is not.
People are shot down and ships are sunk. The journey is simply too dangerous, dear cousin. You don't want to press your luck, old chap.
Yeah, darling. Oh, you're all right, mate. You're all right. Just critch, mate. Move along. I told you, mate. It's just critch. Move on.
I am Critch.
Mr. Delacroix, there's really something that you should know. Listen, given its impenetrable nature, we decided that its purpose would be better served at one of our more prestigious locations.
Where?
Ich müsste weglaufen. Es war die richtige Entscheidung für Ihre Sicherheit.
Du machst immer das Richtige. Du bist der Richtige. Immer.
Willst du wieder herkommen?
Ja.
Okay, werden wir. Es ist doch kein Problem, solltest nur sagen. Of course. If a critical situation arises, I can trigger an alarm and the guards would mobilize immediately.
I would like to see that work in a practical situation.
Bloody well works. Now, let's go and watch all hell break loose.
Helle, mamen tun och rusa tälle. Hand over the artifact.
What's going on here? Why is a French citizen being held?
See criteria for internment are posted outside the building.
I read that.
Then you will know why he's been interned.
I think we both know why he's been interned.
You're an American. I thought you of all people should understand racial science.
Heil Hitler.
Heil Hitler.
Some of us believe that the American race is the most superior.
Herr Professor Koch, ich bin Dr. Arthur Conan Doyle, praktischer Arzt aus Portsmouth. Ich habe den langen Weg aus England nicht nur aus naturwissenschaftlicher Neugier angenommen. Meine Frau ist selbst erkrankt. Ihr Tuberkulin